It's interesting, when I first got here today, a couple guys, not in a real serious way, but kind of lightheartedly said, hey, Alan, you know, James said some stuff that was different from you, and James said a couple things that contradicted some of the stuff you said. So? I mean, I've been doing this long enough to know that every other dating coach, seduction guru, lifestyle coach, etc., they're always going to say something that's at minimum is going to be different than what I say, and at maximum, that's going to be a total contradiction to what I say. But one thing my readers and supporters know, and I think I said this yesterday, I try never to hate on anybody's stuff. I actually tell my readers to read as much as they can, listen to as many people as they can, and you just draw what resonates with you. Because I know Mo 1 will not. There's going to be a few people it's just not going to resonate with. Some people are going to say, I could never. It's just like I told you a story when I gave my brother the pamphlet that he gave to his workers. He gave it to like 8 guys. 3 of them immediately said, I can't do this. They was like, this approach is too ballsy for me. I would not feel comfortable. And I was like, shit, what? You coward, you fucking, you loser. I was just like, that is not going to mesh with your personality. Now, I will admit, and again, I'm going to try not to say this person's name, but I will admit, when I do have beef with another speaker or another coach or whatever, is not only when they differ from me, but when they attack my stuff. And that did happen in London. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about it, but there was one speaker there, and he actually got on stage and said, I think verbalizing your sexual intentions to a woman is the dumbest thing you can do. And the whole auditorium of guys just turned around and looked at me like, Alan, we know you got a response to that. And I was like, yeah, I let him talk. And then, he kept plugging the word sub-communication. See, I believe you have to sub-communicate your desires to a woman. You don't verbalize them, you sub-communicate them. Since Sasha was talking about ethnicities and stuff, I'm gonna just put it out there. In America, brothers, they don't talk about no fucking sub-communication. I'm just keeping it real. We don't talk about it. That's not even in our vernacular. I've never hung around some brothers that say, hey man, I'm gonna go out to the club and I'm gonna be sub-communicating with some honeys, man. Yeah, man. I'm gonna talk to him, man. I'm gonna sub-communicate with him, man. You gonna come with me? You gonna sub-communicate? Shit, yeah, matter of fact, let's see them honeys against the wall, man. Let's go over there and sub-communicate to them. Cause, and again, I don't want to hear all my stuff, but here's why I'm not the biggest fan of this idea of sub-communication. And this is going to relate to what I'll talk about later in my presentation. I've been on a dance floor with a woman and had that woman put her ass all in my dick. I mean, I was just like, and just grabbing on her ass and shit. Now, if you saw that on video, you would say, oh, I know he gonna fuck her tonight. But some of those women didn't even give me their number. Now, if the sub-communication experts would analyze it, they would say, surely if a woman puts her ass all in your dick and basically sexualizes her body language, then surely she's going to give you some pussy. But that's not the reality. That's not the reality. Some of them will. Surely some of them will. There's a percentage that will. But there's some women that just enjoy cock teasing guys. And like I said, I'm going to get to that a little later. But yeah, on the point of people differing from me, I hear it all the time. Like there was a guy, Sasha invited me to this message board a while back called the London Seduction Society message board. There's some good guys on there. But as with any message board, you're going to have haters, you're going to have critics. And I had one guy, he's like, Alan, man, you act like Mo 1 is the only way to go. Like it's the best thing since sliced bread. I said, please show me a post where I said that. And of course, he couldn't find one. He said, oh, fuck you still a jerk, you asshole. But no, My brother probably says it more than I do. He tells guys, he said, Mo 1 is not for everybody. Like my X-rated style, some guys criticize. They say, hey man, don't you think it's like disrespectful to go up to a woman and like in the first 5 minutes tell her you want to put your dick in her mouth? I said, no, I think it's disrespectful to go up to a woman and pretend I'm interested in her boots when I really just want to put my dick in her mouth. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm saying that seriously. I mean, when you boil all my philosophies, all my principles, it's hard to just narrow it down. But what it really comes down to is this. I don't like pretending. I don't like to try to get laid by pretending that I'm not trying to get laid. I think that's the absolute dumbest thing a man could do. But yet a lot of indirect guys, that's basically what they teach, is to try to get laid by pretending or hiding the fact that you're trying to get laid. My attitude is, if I want to fuck, I'm going to let a woman know I want to fuck. And basically when it comes down to nitty-gritty, she's either going to say yay or nay. The difference between me and a lot of guys is that I'm cool with the nay. Most guys aren't cool with the nay. So they're going, if they can't go through the front door, they're going to say, well, I want to go through the side door to lower the chances of her saying nay. But what they don't realize, and this is going to relate to the time wasters, is that a lot of men think, there are moments when a lot of men think they're avoiding rejection when in actuality, they're just delaying it. I don't ever want to delay rejection. If I'm going to get rejected by a woman, I would actually rather be rejected, say, in the first 10 to 15 minutes of my first conversation with a woman than to go out on, say, 6 or 7 dates and have that woman give me what I call the talk. And when I do the talk, it's funny, when I've done this around women, they always crack up because they know I'm on point, because they know they've done this talk. But this is what I call the talk. It's like, say you meet a woman and you are indirect. You're not bringing up anything sexual. You just take her out 3, 4, 5 times. And then you figure at the 5th date, you've earned enough brownie points that you can start escalating. But only when you escalate, the woman says, Henry, can we talk? You're a great guy. You're a great guy. You're going to make some woman a great boyfriend, a great husband. I swear to God, you are such a sweetheart. But if I can be so frank, I just don't feel any romantic or sexual sparks between us. Now, we can be great platonic friends, but I just don't see anything happening. And see, what I tell the women who don't know this, I say, most of the time in your face, the women's faces, they're going to be cordial. They'll say, oh, okay, yeah. But most of the guys I know, at least the ones who've been buddy with me, I'll get a call sometimes at 2 o'clock in the morning. Man, fucking bitch. Damn, man, that bitch wasted my motherfucking time. I'm like, dude, what's up, man? I'm asleep, dude. What are you talking about? Man, I took this bitch out 5 times, right? I took her to the finest restaurants in Chicago. And then she gonna tell me, hey, you're a good guy. You're a sweetheart. Why are they angry? Why are they angry? Why are those guys angry? That's probably the best answer. They played themselves. Any other variations of that?
Didn't make that intentionally. Was indirect.
They didn't make the intentions clear, and see, this is why I'm against indirect. This is one of my just biggest things against indirect, is because nobody, well, there are probably a few people don't mind it, but generally speaking, did anybody see this movie called Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro? That movie, I love that movie. I saw that movie. I can't tell you how many times I saw that movie. But there's one simple line in the movie I just loved. You could say that line sums up Mo 1. Is that he goes to his snitch. A lot of cops, detectives have their snitches who give them inside information, and in exchange the cops cut them a break here and there. So basically this snitch had led him to believe he had some information for him, but when he got there talking to the snitch was basically telling him a bunch of bullshit. And Al Pacino starts getting mad. He's basically like, and finally he says, Albert, Why did you bring me here? You're wasting my motherfucking time. And I was like, man, but I just went out of town, and I just, his like, no, shut the fuck up. You brought me here, and now you've wasted my motherfucking time. Then as he's walking away with his fellow detectives, he says, don't waste my motherfucking time. I love that line. But that's how we all feel. If somebody led you to believe that the direct dating summit was going to be here, and then when you got here, you saw a ballet class, you're like, wait a minute. Sasha told me that the direct dating summit was going to be here. There's a ballet class in this motherfucker. I took off work to be here. I caught the bus to be here. This motherfucker Sasha wasted my motherfucking time. Nobody wants their time wasted. Now, here's the thing though, and this relates to Johnny's quick response. And Johnny, you know I love you, but you can't be giving me all the responses today because you always had the right answer. I want the guys to give me the right answers. Because Johnny's that A+ student you have in the class. It's just like, I know it. The geometric formula isn't. The teacher's like, God damn it, that guy, he's awesome. But but he did say, he hit it on the nose though. A lot of guys, when I get the example of the guy calling me angry, they'll try to point the finger at the woman like, you know, that fucking bitch, she wasted my time. But when they get mad at me is when I break down to them, I'm like, no. You wasted your own motherfucking time. And well, tell me your first name again. Marcus, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what you said about they weren't direct with their intentions. And see, I experienced that because, you know, I had a time when I was indirect. And that's why I didn't like it, because I found that every time I interacted with a woman, and I knew just ultimately I just wanted to fuck, but I was doing shit like, hey, you know, the weather is great and shit, ain't it? And yeah, God, those some great boots you got on, golly. And doing all that small talk, it could be just one night, like say at a club. I might have been at a club talking to a woman for 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm thinking I'm earning, as guys like say, brownie points. But then the end of the conversation when I would say, hey, you know, we ought to get together sometime. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're a great guy and everything, but... And again, I would, in her face, I would be cordial, like, oh, you know, well, it's good talking to you anyway. But I ain't gonna lie, I'd be sitting there under my breath like, I wasted a fucking hour talking when I could have just opened up and told her I wanted to connect with her in the near future. She could have told me yeah and nay in the first 5 minutes of the conversation. So yeah, the 3 things I don't like to pretend. I don't like to pretend that I don't want to get laid when I actually do. I don't want to pretend that I want a long-term, monogamous, emotionally profound relationship with a woman when I know I just might want to say a weekend fling or 1 or 2 weeks of casual sex. And I don't want to pretend like I'm content with being a woman's play brother or platonic friend when I know I want to either date her or fuck her. None of those scenarios makes me ever feel good. And that's what made me arrive at Mo 1. And the guys who I think have most benefited from my books are guys who experienced the same thing, who had the same thought process. They were like, I'm tired. Because the thing I noticed when I start being Mo 1 is, and Sasha has heard me say this a million times, rejection just didn't affect me the same way anymore. Like when I was indirect and I got rejected, I would always feel pissed off, always. Again, mainly because I just felt like I wasted time. But when I'm Mo 1 with women and they reject me, I tend to have an attitude like, so? Like Steve, he was talking about matches, being a match. I don't look at rejection as a personal indictment on me, like my nose is too big or my breath stink or whatever. I just look at it like I have some desires and interests and intentions that she's not on the same page as. And as long as I know up front, I'm not wasting time. So, yeah, and I'm just going to mainly talk about 2 things. I've already started talking about why I like a direct approach, and then I'm going to talk about content related to my latest book. It's not in paperback form yet, but it's been selling as an ebook. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. It's called The Possibility of Sex. But yeah, you know, there's a lot of coaches out here that do preach the indirect. I mean, I've had some coaches, they're honest about it. They'll say, yeah, I teach my guys to get laid by pretending that they're not trying to get laid. Matter of fact, I mentioned Kezia Noble, the female dating coach from London. She halfway admitted that on my show during my interview. She likes to say she's a fan of both approaches. She says, sometimes I teach my male clients to be direct, but she said a lot of other times I teach them to be indirect. I said, so you basically teach them to try to get laid by pretending? And she was like, yeah. I said, okay, at least you're honest about it. But I would never teach a guy that, because again, here's the thing about being indirect. I just say it all the time. When you're indirect and say you do happen to get laid, of course you're gonna feel like it's worthwhile. That's with anything in life. Of course you're gonna feel wild. But it's those moments, again, going back to rejection, when you don't get the result, that you're gonna feel like, you're just gonna feel like a pussy. I don't want to speak for everybody here. I just say it for me and the guys I know. I felt like a pussy when I was indirect and get rejected. I felt like, damn, why not just tell her straight up that I wanted to fuck her? Why not tell her straight up that I wanted non-monogamous sex or a short-term relationship as opposed to long-term or monogamous? But where I really feel like the indirect approach, well, first I'm gonna give you my definition. Everybody has their own definitions. I'm gonna give you my definition. What is a direct approach versus an indirect approach? This is my definition of a direct approach. When you approach a woman and you let her know straightforwardly what motivated you to approach her in the first place. For example, letting the woman know, I think you're attractive, or I think you're sexy, as opposed to, man, where did you get that blouse from? Is that from Switzerland? You didn't want to fucking know where she got her blouse from. What the fuck is that? Really? That's some stupid shit to me. And this same guy, again, who will remain nameless, who criticized my approach, he has a video of him doing just that. He goes up to a woman, he's asking her about her boots and her bag, like he really gave a fuck. Whenever I approach women, I tell them from the get-go, I approach them number one because something about them appealed to me. I may be as general as I thought you were attractive and sexy. It might be some more specific, like, damn, you got a nice ass. And I just had to start talking to you. I've said that to a lot of women. I said, damn, you got an ass on you. Matter of fact, when we were in Vegas for the direct dating, so I went to the grocery store. There was this woman, she had these leggings. You know how women with them leggings, man, it looks like somebody just painted on them. And first I just looked. I told you I had a habit of just sometimes just looking. And she kind of sensed I was looking, and she said, hello. I said, hello. She said, you look like you want to say something, but you don't know what to say. I said, oh no, I know what I want to say. I said, damn, you're just looking at your ass is getting my dick hard. And of course, fine, whoever, what do you think her reaction was? You could predict. Oh my God, I don't believe you said that. Oh my God, you're so forward. I said, yeah, I hear that all the time. But damn, I mean, I could put a glass on your ass and it would sit there. I mean, your shit is like a half moon and shit. And then she said, she had to get racial. She said, mostly black guys always notice my ass. The other guys, they don't really say anything. I said, no, trust me, it's the white guys that's noticing your ass. They might not be saying anything, but they too are saying you got a nice ass. But anyway, I let her know. I said, hey, you got a nice ass. We talked a little bit. I gave my card. Now, we didn't hook up or anything, but I didn't say, damn, is that La Johnson's orange juice you get there? Wow, I drink that all the time. Wow, are those fresh strawberries? I love fresh strawberries. Matter of fact, I gotta tell this story. Me and my stories. Guy from London, another speaker, David X. he has, you know, like any day coach, he had his clients. And I had never heard him criticize a client, but me and him were going to fly to Amsterdam. He says, Alan, he talks real raspy. If anybody's familiar with David Harris, you know, I love the way, I tease Sasha, I love the way he says, he never says Sasha, he says Sasha. You know, Sasha went to the store and got some water. But anyway, he says, there's this client of mine, Alan, I'm going to turn him over to you because he just won't listen to shit I say. I said, no, I don't want to take your client. He said, no, I'm giving him to you because he just frustrates the fuck out of me. Nice guy. I mean, he's a good guy, but he just won't listen. So I'm thinking David X is just being too hard on him. Sure enough, we get to Amsterdam, he introduces me to the guy. The guy was cool, you know. I forget what his native country was. Spoke pretty fluent English, but he was living in Amsterdam. Anyway, he starts asking me questions. He says, Alan, I read your book, Mode 1. I loved it. I loved the principles, and I try to apply it, but okay, what if you go to a woman and you like really Mode 1 and straightforward, and she just like hauls off and slaps you? Right there, I said, oh, I know why David X is frustrated with this guy. Because David X, if there's one thing me and David X had in common, and I'm sure a few other dating coaches had this common, is guys who give these hypothetical rejection scenarios. And the first question I always ask guys when they give me those scenarios, I say, so how many times has that happened to you? And he said, oh no, I've never been slapped. I said, then why the fuck you talking about it then? He said, well, what if I go to a woman and I say, hey, I want you to suck my cock, and she just like starts cursing me out in front of everybody? I said, how many times has that happened to you? He said, well, never, but I'm like, why the fuck you talking about it? He gave me literally about 7 or 8 of those. And every time I asked him, how many times have you experienced that? He said, well, no, I just always envision. I said, why the fuck are you doing that? Then I found myself getting frustrated. I had to be like, okay, Alan, calm down. But I could see why David asked. And sure enough, anyway, we get into this grocery store. I said, this is what I want you to do. Gave him specific, easy to understand directions. I said, the next woman that comes in here that you think is attractive, I want you to first just approach her, introduce yourself. Number one, introduce yourself. Tell her that you think she's attractive, sexy, or both. And then finally say, I would love to share your company sometime in the next week or 2. How can we make that happen? Would you say those were 3 pretty easy to understand instructions? It involved no X-rated talk. I didn't tell her to say, I want you to suck my dick and nothing like that. Just 3 simple instructions. But this shows you how a lot of men, that fear of rejection I talk about. So this beautiful blonde comes in. She was drop dead gorgeous. And I give him a look, and he gives me a look, and I said, so he approaches her. He says, oh my God, you are beautiful. And she says, oh my God, thank you. He says, matter of fact, you're beyond beautiful. You're also fucking. He says fucking. He says, you're fucking sexy. And she just blushes out this world. She's like, oh my God. And I'm looking at him like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So he says, my name is, so I can't remember his name. Let's say Charles. He said, my name is Charles. And she introduced herself. And I could tell they had a good vibe. Now he just had to do one more thing. And that was to say, I would love to share a company sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. What the fuck did he do? Just like I joked about that orange juice, he literally did. He said, do you like that? See that juice right there? Do you love that? Do you come here for that juice? I'm like, and she's like, yeah, I love that juice. He said, that's why I love coming here. Matter of fact, there's some meat over there. And I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? Sure enough, you can see it. I knew it was going to happen. Her vibe, she entertained him for maybe a minute or 2. Her vibe just, next thing you know, she gave that kind of cordial, like, hey, excuse me, I gotta go. It was nice meeting you, but, I gotta continue shopping. And then he had the nerve to be incredulous about what went wrong. He was like, he was looking like this, like, what happened? I said, dude. I said, dude, what the fuck was that? He said, what? I said, dude, you were going good. Why the fuck did you start talking about orange juice? I mean, seriously, I was like, why the fuck would you start talking about that? And he was like, well, I don't know, I thought that if I just immediately asked to connect with her, that she would think I was too forward, and then she would say, you know, probably call me a jerk. I'm like, there you go. There you go, envisioning shit that could happen, but hasn't happened. So that's my piece of advice to you. Don't ever concern yourself with shit that could happen. When we were in London, and that's why David X was getting pissed, and I got pissed, not as pissed as him. David X was going off on people. I mean, getting in their face like, you dickhead. I mean, he was just like, I was like, whoa. But I could feel his frustration because a lot of people were asking us questions like that, like, what if I do this and she does that? Just do the shit. Nike had the shit, just do it. Then you find out, if you want to talk to me about something that actually has happened, that's when I'm willing to listen. If you say, Alan, I've been mode 1 and like 10 or 11 times I've gotten an XYZ result, can you analyze this for me? Can you give me better understanding of why I'm getting it? Then that's when I'm willing to talk. If you tell me about shit that's actually happened, but don't tell me about shit, well, what if I was like in a bar and I'm on one, this woman starts loud talking me in front of my girlfriends. How many times that happened? Well, never, but I always picture that happening. Have you ever pictured yourself getting your dick sucked in a grocery store? They'll say no. I'm like, there you go. Why do you think you never got your dick sucked in a grocery store? I mean, seriously. One of the reasons why I've experienced a lot of shit I have sexually, particularly as it relates to like same-day seductions, is because I literally visualize that shit. A lot of times when I meet women, I could be anywhere. I don't like limit it to like the bedroom, or I could be at a train station. I'll be thinking to myself, 10 minutes from now, that woman's we're gonna be somewhere in this train station, she's gonna be sucking my dick. And it's happened. LAX airport. Gotta tell you a story. I'm at LAX airport. This woman, she's on the phone, and I just look at her. And she's like, she starts to look at me like, okay. And she's like, finally she wraps it up. She's like, damn, you just rudely and blatantly just start staring at me. And what do you think I said? What do you think I said? What one word? So? I ain't gonna apologize for the shit. I was like, so? And she was like, you're a character. And she immediately started warming. She was like, you're a character. So she said, you flying in or you going to fly out? I said, I'm actually going to fly out in a couple hours, just wasting some time. I said, you know what would be nice though? She said, what? I said, what would be nice is if before I left town, I could just feel your lips and tongue wrapped around my dick. Now what do you think she said? Are you like crazy or something? I just meet some woman that says that shit. I said, me? She's like, well, I gotta let you know, I'm not a hoe or a slut. What do you say when women say that? Well, at least I say, that's good, that's great, because I don't like hoes and sluts. So shoot, you're not a hoe or a slut, that's the plus for you. Anyway, we start talking, and of course, with predictability, she calmed down. And she was like, you are such a character. Next thing you know, she pulls me. She says, do you know LAX airport? I said, she said, I know it real well. And she just grabs my wrist and takes me to a stairwell. Now, I don't know if I want to confess this on camera. Well, my parents have both passed away, so they can't spank me. But I almost got arrested because of this woman. Because she started sucking my dick in the stairwell, and my common sense should have said, damn, there's security cameras all over this motherfucker. And 5 minutes into her sucking my dick, these two guys with navy blue jackets are like, okay, come with us. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? And yeah, anyway, we got it worked out. I didn't get arrested. But anyway, my point was, in the same way guys will envision themselves having bad experiences with women, negative experiences with women, I don't think like that. I think very confidently, sometimes some of my friends will argue too confidently, that something's gonna happen sexually. I tend to think wherever I can be, that I can fuck this woman in the back of the club, I can fuck this woman in the coffee shop, I can fuck this woman in the restaurant. And because I think like that, I've had a lot. I was telling some of the guys that my brother used to nickname me Letters to Penthouse, because there's a series of books, erotica books called Letters to Penthouse, where people submit stories of basically like very spontaneous sex, unexpected sex. Like, I was on a train and this guy hit on me and we ended up fucking. Well, I can honestly say I've had a lot of Letters to Penthouse worthy stories where I've just been somewhere random. I had a woman close down a gas station so I could fuck her. Close down a gas station so I could fuck her. Wait, Nassar says I repeat my stories. Did I tell that story yesterday? Okay. He's like, no, I want to hear it. No, you didn't tell that story. No, I really did. I had this woman. I went in there. I was coming from a party. It's in the Chicago area. And first I was just planning on saying, $15 on pump 7. And she had on this nice sexy. I said, damn, you are fucking sexy. And she said, well, thank you. I said, man, as horny as I feel right now, I want to just fuck you right now. And she was like, what the fuck is your problem? You just come out and say that shit? I'm like, what, am I supposed to hold it in? And that made her laugh. She said, okay, that makes sense. And I said, we need to fuck. If not tonight, sometime in the next 2-3 weeks, we need to fuck. And she said, you really want to fuck, don't you? I said, yeah, I want to fuck. Now, this is also, I don't recommend this, because this was risky too, because I'm sure they had security cameras in there. I said, you act like you don't believe I'm horny. So I pull out my dick. Literally, I pulled out my dick. And she's like, but I saw her looking at that motherfucker, she's like, she was like, you're bold. You're either crazy or just the boldest guy I've ever met in my life. I said, probably the latter, but I might be a little cuckoo, but it benefits me. Anyway, she pretty much said something fake that wasn't going to happen. So I went outside. I started pumping gas. Who comes out like 5 minutes later? She says, like she doesn't want to acknowledge she wants to hook up, so she kind of hesitates. And I said, I'm like, yes. And she says, this time of night, because it was late at night, it was like, 2:33 in the morning. She said, this time of night is like really slow. I said, and you're telling me this because, she said, okay, I'm feeling a little spontaneous tonight. I said, really? She said, if this night will be like most nights at this time, I'm willing to have a little fun back inside. But the minute a car comes, we just gotta, I said, hey, I'm following your lead. So we went back in there. She locks the door. She's like, and I fucked her right in there, even though, I fucked her, but technically I didn't finish that night, because sure enough, when about 3 minutes before I feel myself about to come, some car pulled up and she was like, please stop, please. But that just shows you, and I think I said this yesterday, if not in here, I said to some guys privately, I said, you could be anywhere. If you get a woman's pussy wet, and this is the thing I have to emphasize, I know I emphasized yesterday, but I'm going to emphasize again. Quit putting the cart before the horse. Me and Johnny were talking about this. A lot of men will talk about fucking a woman. Like, man, I want to go out to the club and I want to meet this woman and fuck her. Or I want to go to this party and meet this woman and fuck her. And I always say, okay, how you going to fuck her? What do you mean? Am I going to do doggy style? Or am I going to do missionary? I'm like, no. How you going to get her to a state where she even wants to fuck? Oh, well, I guess, I got to get her aroused first. I said, there you go. I never concentrate on actually fucking a woman until I'm actually fucking a woman. I concentrate on getting a woman's pussy wet. I never go say to a party with the attitude that, I'm going to fuck this woman, I'm going to fuck that woman. But I will say to myself, if I meet some woman and it looks like we got chemistry, I'm going to do my best to get her pussy wet. Because once a woman's pussy is wet, social programming, number one, becomes diminished. Seriously. All that social program I talked about yesterday, like they thinking about their mother and father saying, you got to be a good girl. When that pussy gets wet, they're like, okay, mom and dad, you got to go. I mean, it's just like us. You hear women all the time say, "God, when you guys think with your dicks, you like do anything." And it's true. Both sexes, though. When we get horny, we're willing to take risks. We're willing to be spontaneous. That's the only way I've had some experience I had. Because once I got that woman's pussy wet, I was able to say anything I wanted to say. I was willing to ask anything, any type of request, and she was willing to go for it. And as I told you yesterday, I've even gotten women's pussies wet talking about other motherfuckers. People always trip on that, but shit, that shit works for me. I'll be like, so you like Kobe Bryant, huh? Oh yeah, Kobe is sexy. Say it again. Kobe is sexy. You'd love to have Kobe fuck you, wouldn't you? Ellen, wouldn't you? Yeah, I'd love to have Kobe. Say it again. I'd love to have Kobe fucking me. Say it again. And just ease on in there. You love to have him do what? I love to have him fuck me. Say it. Oh, I love to have Kobe fuck me. Oh, say it again. I love to have Kobe fuck me. Whose fingers in your pussy? Yours. That's when Kobe eases out the conversation and Roger Currie comes in. When I talk about what we're actually doing. And so, see, I always get my stories become a segue to, I get off my, that's why I need these PowerPoints to kind of keep me organized. But yeah, direct approach is when you straightforwardly let a woman know why you approached her. And the most important thing is why you're interested in spending time with her in the near and or distant future. Are you approaching a woman because you just want entertaining conversation? Going back to my boots example and shit, did you really want to just talk about her boots or her new hairdo? Raise your hand if you've ever been motivated to approach a woman in a social setting just to talk about something like her clothes or some shit. Okay, tell me why you did that.
Yeah, maybe a woman might feel slow when you make her day or something, you know?
You wanted to make her day?
Yeah.
You didn't think that fucking and making her come would make her day?
Actually not, you know, I just saw, like, if she looks lonely, you know, not particularly my type, but why not talk to her, you know, nobody talks.
So just, in other words, to pass the time.
Yeah.